I'm going to walk you through a presentation that we share with clients of the CanCred Open Badges platform, but the principles I'll be exploring can be applied to any platform. Visual design is an important factor in the development of a digital credentialing strategy, particularly one based on open badges. We like to say that it's necessary but not sufficient to have a professionally designed look and feel for your digital credentials that is aligned with your brand and provides a visual language to support their meaning. Open badges help make learning visible, so anything you can do to focus visual attention on what you're recognizing will make the message of your micro-credentials stronger and easier to share. So let's have a look. First, some technical aspects. The images that are uploaded must be either PNG or SVG, so JPEGs are not allowed. PNG is the most common and really the most usable format. The images have to be square shaped, and by that we mean they can be any shape, but within an overall square canvas, you might say. So you could have a transparent background that is square, and then, as you see here, a round micro-credential in the middle of it. So we recommend the size be 400 by 400, but having bigger versions for other purposes, such as PowerPoints, for example. The maximum file size, 250 kilobytes, that's pretty easy to stay under if you're just generating PNG files. So you can use an online image editor on the platform of CanCred Factory. We recommend only really using this for placeholders. PowerPoint is a great place to sort of mock up images. There are some online tools as well. But as I mentioned, we highly recommend using a professional designer when you're getting ready to issue your micro-credentials for real. After your design has been established, however, you can use tools like PowerPoint, especially if you can get the designer to provide you with what are called vector images. So you can have a very large PowerPoint canvas and generate these images and have elements that you can put back and forth. And then you can generate high quality images if you follow the rules that the designer has set up for you based on the language that they have designed. So what we're talking about here is supporting the textual and essentially the metadata of the micro-credential. And what we're saying is that you want to be able to promote your brand, provide something that's clean and easy to read at small sizes. You want to manage the expectations. Is it a casual, sort of low stakes kind of credential? Is it highly formal? Is it a sort of a high stakes, very significant size of credential? These are the kinds of things that you can indicate. And you're talking to potentially diverse audiences. Probably a key audience would be employers, but you're also talking to other audiences, even the learners, the earners, who need to feel that what they're earning is something valuable. So you're trying to communicate visually things like the topic or knowledge domain, how this digital credential supports the knowledge domain, what learning is being recognized, and how rigorously that was set up, how big, how significant is this credential, and what's its context, what sector are you doing this for, what stage of a learning journey might it be on. And obviously, you're trying to put yourself in your best possible light, in an appropriate light as an issuer of the credential. So, just some examples from signaling badge content, just different looks of branding. You'll notice some things there. I would say that an uncluttered look is more effective than a lot of small text. In some cases, you have different departments or faculties or initiatives within your organization, so maybe you want to have an overarching brand and then ways of providing sub-brand within that. And then there's co-branding, so just some examples here with some post-secondary institutions and service that's out there. Also, in this case, the Mohawk College did a partnership with a local employer. So it's a co-branded micro-credential with the employer there. And then this was a fairly high-profile project and a lot of co-branding in the area of entrepreneurship for young people and companies, basically co-branding with this Duke of York Nominet Trust initiative. So there's different kinds of things you're recognizing. In many cases, it's take a course, earn the credentials. So you see some examples of that here. It could also be the certification of a competency. By that we mean it's asserting that this person can do this thing regardless of the journey they took to get there. So it's not linked to course outcomes. It basically just says this person can do this thing. Membership, different forms of membership that can be somewhat casual or also quite formal and even based on payment or signing of ethical guidelines, etc. And then many other types of recognition. We're not so much talking about that in this context here of micro-credentials, but they can recognize things like community service. So just some things to consider as you're talking about what is being recognized. Skill area, we have knowledge domains, what are sometimes called vertical skills, so you see some examples there. And then we also have transversal skills, which can be foundational. So in other words, this person is at this level of math skills, for example. But it can also be soft skills, the human skills, interpersonal and personal skills that help with employability. Text labels can help clarify the message of the badge. This care should be taken when you're working with multiple languages because there can only be one image per credential. So let's just talk a little bit about levels. We have qualification frameworks. These are seldom captured in micro-credentials, things, official qualification frameworks. More common is the idea of internal levels. So beginner, intermediate, expert would be one, fundamentals, advanced, bronze, silver, gold if you must, or things like that. You could have also, this is simply the course, this is the person applying what they've learned, and this is the person being observed or having been observed using the skill in the workplace, for example. Different ways of getting this across, again, that can be consistent for you. Using number of sides is quite common, as well the use of stars, for example, or the chevrons. Pathways, or what we might call badge systems or badge clusters, can be presented as you see here. So in other words, they look similar, but the gold one looks like it's more valuable. That's important. And then you could have linear sequencing. For example, here you see the use of the stars. It's also, you can get across different kinds of messages. So perhaps the micro-credentials in the pathway here can be valuable in and of themselves, but maybe they're just place markers, in which case you would maybe give it a visual indication that this is maybe not for sharing outside, this is to show you that you're making progress toward your goal, and hang on until you reach that milestone credential at the end. In terms of granularity, there's a number of ways of looking at that. The number of effort hours, or what they call in Australia the volume of learning. What is the credit value, for example, often related to effort hours? Is it a competency or just a sub-competency? Is it a milestone or simply a pathway step? And so it's some different ways of getting at that. There's a different view of the example we were just looking at in the previous slide. The one with the gold obviously has more weight, shall we say. In this case, the one on the right is a certification, as opposed to the other one is just a volunteer effort recognition. Over here, the more weighty one is a little more subtle. It's the number of effort hours. You see 25 effort hours versus 2 effort hours. Here's actually an early example from Open Badges. I think this one goes back to about 2014, 2015, just showing how you can build up through programs into larger programs into the largest program, and a way of visually bringing this together. So endorsement, that's something that can help build the value of your credential. By endorsement, we mean by a third-party organization, and this can be formal as a type of accreditation. This is something that we call a non-formal accreditation. It's not a credit, but this organization in HPAS would be accredited according to learning standards. So this is a somewhat high-stakes form of accreditation. You can have other forms of formal accreditation that are not HPAS certified. Those might be ISO, for example, or something like Quality Matters. And again, you can provide an indicator of that and then back that up with the metadata when you click on the credential itself. In terms of currency, if you put a date in the visual, that's a form of soft obsolescence, I would call that. So in other words, a 2021 credential today seems pretty strong, but that one from 2013, maybe you don't bring it out in front of you and maybe even take it offline and look for more recent ones.
I hope this quick tour has been helpful, and I encourage you to explore further. Here are some platforms that are free for end users to share micro-credentials they have earned. You can use them to explore how other organizations have approached micro-credential design. For example, you'll find Commonwealth of Learning micro-credentials on Open Badge Passport.